Welcome everyone. Today we'll have a free-to-play 4-star tier list. The tier list looks into the overall usefulness of a character. This includes exploration and battle. We're looking into how the character can bat with different mobs, with the bosses and elites in the world map, and also with the Spiral Abyss, which is one of the endgames in the game. After that, we'll have a look at the free-to-play accessibility to the characters. Some of those characters can be free at the start of the game or after reaching a certain adventure level or achieving a certain challenge like Xiangling. Lastly, we'll have a quick look at the elementals and roles of each character, and for those that has overlapped, we'll have ranked them a little lower. Now, because this tier list is aimed to help free-to-play players, there's a few things I want to share with everyone. Firstly, we do not want to invest more than 4 characters at the start of the game. This should go up to adventure level 20 or even 25. And we don't want to level all the characters to level 20 or level 40 because you spread your resource too thin. Try to focus on 4 characters if you can. Later on, build the second team as you see need to. After that, try to not invest more than 2 characters of the same element because there is an elemental resonance which we will look at shortly. Lastly, as we look into the 4-star characters, we should also be prepared for the upgrades and potential upgrades we can find, maybe with 5 stars or maybe with a better 4-star unit. So this way we're not to invest in a character too much. We might keep one on level 40, but we might not go to level 60 because of that. And also keep in mind, you can swap artifacts, so you should only invest in 4 set of artifacts for different usage. We'll start the tier list with the S-rank units. Fischl and Xiangling are top tier units at the moment for 2 reasons. Fischl is not a free unit, but because she's in the Venti banner, unlikely you would have put a few times in the Venti banner. If you're lucky enough, you might have gotten her, or maybe you have gotten Barbara. And if you're super lucky, you might have gotten Venti. So she is more likely to be obtainable by free-to-play players at the moment, and because Venti banner is available. Similarly, Xiangling can be found by clearing the Spiral Abyss floor level 3. If you need help with that, check out the description below and also the link above for a detailed guide to clear the Spiral Abyss from floor 1 to floor 3. Now, Fischl is one of the best support units in the game, not because of her ultimate, but rather because of her E spell. She consistently debuffs enemies with Electric. And talking about Electric, we should look at the elemental skill combos and synergies of different characters. Looking over here for Electric, Electric can link with Hydro for one of the best synergies for Superconduct. This deals cryo damage AoE and also reduces enemy's defense, which enable a whole team to do more damage to the enemy. On top of that, Electric can go with Pyro to break enemy shields, which is very effective against the elite and small shield minions. And after that, Electric is a great counter to Hydro units as electricity bounces between them and deals electric damage over time. Now that we see Electric is one of the best elements, and Fischl is consistently debuffing enemy with Electric, and she doesn't even have to be on the board. As long as her bird is on the field, you can move the bird around, and also you can consistently debuff enemies with Electric. Similarly, Xiangling is also a great debuffer, and on top of that, she's also a DPS unit. If you don't know what a DPS unit is, and you want to know the roles of units, make sure you check the description below, and also the link for our guide about making your perfect build. So coming over to Xiangling, she's a Pyro and Polearm user, one of the only Polearm user in the game currently, and her global attack consistently debuffs enemies with Pyro, and Pyro is very important because of the availability of enemies with shield. This breaks shield very effectively. Xiangling also have a really good ultimate for her Pyronator. This skill will persist around the character even after you swap away from Xiangling, and the skill cooldown duration is quite nice, 20-second cooldown and 10-second duration. Usually we can have Xiangling in a team of 2 Pyro characters for the less affected by cryo, which is really annoying when you're frozen, and also increase damage by 25%, which is a massive boost to your damage output. As we go further into the tier list, I'll come back and refer to the elemental synergies and elemental resonance. I'll recommend you guys to have a look at a guide video on making your perfect party for a detailed guide on elemental resonance over here as well, because it's very important to combine a character for energy regeneration. As a short summary here, if you have 2 fire characters, and if one is a support that casts a spell that generates fire energy, your DPS character or your main carry, the damage dealer, can now gain more fire energy and then cast her or his spells more quickly, which results in more damage output. As your skill goes off CD, you should have enough energy to cast again. So let's have a look at the tier A units over here. We'll have Barbara, Razor, the Wind Traveler, and also the Geo Traveler. I'm using Lumi for the Wind Traveler and also Ether for the Geo Traveler over here as image. Now Barbara is a free unit upon reaching adventure level 20, and the travelers are freely given. You start with a Wind Traveler. Later, as you come across to the Geo section of the map, which is down towards the south region, you can change into the Geo Traveler. Those units are freely accessible to most players, and I have included one that is not accessible. Why did I include Razor here is because he's an electric unit. He is also a great DPS unit. And if we do have a stronger electric unit, maybe 5-star Kachin, which is also electric one-hand user, or maybe you want to use Vessel, you don't have to use Razor. But if you don't have those two units, Razor can be one of your best electric debuffers as well, and also a DPS. Barbara is quite straightforward. She has 2 healing spells, and her healing goes persistent after you switch her away, and this is very nice. She can also debuff enemy with Hydro, which can be combined with Aminal and also Electric. After that, the Wind Traveler and Geo Traveler. I've seen many of the tier lists actually rate them a little lower, but for our purpose, I actually want to rate them a little higher. I didn't want to put them as high as on the S tier, but I think they definitely deserve a spot on A tier, because they're naturally base 5-star units. All of those other units are naturally base 4-star units, so they start with the higher stats. On top of that, if you're not sure which unit to invest in, you can be sure you can invest on the Travelers, because the Traveler can always swap into a different element. Right now we have Aminal and also Geo. Later we're going to have more elements to the Traveler, so the Traveler is always a safe bet. Now on the note of exploration, the Geo Traveler is actually a must-have traveler to explore some of the certain areas. Sometimes you just can't reach the ledge. Other times you want to create a statue so you can start on a higher ground, start climbing on the higher ground to preserve a little bit of stamina. So the Geo Traveler is actually essential for parts of the exploration in the map, and sometimes I even swap into him because I can't get to high enough ledges. Next up we have the B tier list. We'll have a look at Noelle in detail. After that, I'll briefly touch on each of those other characters over here. As one of the only 2 Geo characters that's currently in the game, Noelle is a Claymore user. Noelle has a great charge attack which allows her to spring around and does damage in a wide area. After that, her E spell is a Breastplate. This ongoing spell actually scales with Noelle's defense, and this scales very nicely. On top of that, it absorbs damage and also heals the entire team based on Noelle's defense as she attacks enemies with her attacks. Finally, Noelle's ultimate, Sweeping Time, increases her attack AoE range, also deals geo damage, and after that, it also converts 40% of her defense into attack. I've seen a level 60 Noelle with 1800 defense and 1800 attack because after activating this spell, she is unstoppable. Keep in mind, as you go deeper into the game, into the mid or late game, you might be using food items or potions. Those increase your defense and also increase your attack, and Noelle benefit those doubly. Because she gets high attack from attack potions, she also gets high attack from defense potions as she uses ultimate. Followed by Noelle, the rest of the 6 characters on this particular B tier list does enough for us to keep them to level 20 and sometimes even level 40 if you actually don't have enough units on your party and if you don't plan to use Amber, Kaya or Bennett. So they are more of the 6 characters that's interchangeable, and the moment I get an upgrade, maybe to a 5-star, maybe to the higher tier units over here, I will swap into them. And how do we swap into them? It's because we know their roles and synergies. For example, Choyin here is a DPS unit. If I get a better DPS, maybe Xiangling, I will swap over to her if I want the pile. But if I want to keep on my Hydro, I can keep him. The moment I get Chi-Chi as my cryo element, I no longer need Chi-Win. But before I get Chi-Chi, I might use Chi-Win just for the cryo synergies to superconduct enemies. We'll now look into the B- tier for Ember and Kaya. Those 2 are the startup units we get at the start of the game, and by no means they're bad units. They just don't do enough compared to the other characters. Ember doesn't consistently debuff enemies like Xiangling with Pile, and she takes a little longer for her bear to explode to do Pile damage. And similarly, Kaya has a short range of his cryo spells, which doesn't do enough AoE, similar to Chiu-Ying over here. But Ember has some really good skill kit. A lot of the exploration you'll come into, Ember actually can be the one that activates the Pile pillars, and sometimes the statues or torches that needs to be applied with Pile is in a very far unreachable place. If you try to use Xiangling to hit those things, it will take you a long time to reach there. So what I do is I keep Ember, don't send her to exploration, keep her as a potential team member, and swap into her if I need to shoot a fire arrow onto those objectives. And she is actually great. My Ember is only level 6, but she does a lot for exploration. Finally, we'll briefly touch on the C tier units, Bennett. Bennett is a DPS unit. He is also a pyro unit. There's so many pyro units in the game, starting with the Diluc, also Klee that's coming, and after that there's Xiangling, there's even Ember, which kinda exceed what Bennett can do. Bennett doesn't help us in exploration, he doesn't have a far enough reach, and in my opinion, Bennett actually needs a buff. But because there's so many good available Hydra characters out there, Bennett just doesn't get the time to shine. To summarize this tier list, keep in mind this is more of a personal preference and playing style, and I have considered the accessibility and also the versatility of units in exploration in the tier list. I did put a high emphasis on the Travelers because I know they can become stronger as we go deeper into the game. Well, to be honest, the story is built around them, so they have to be stronger as we go as well. Now, if you found this video helpful, make sure you subscribe and also click the bell for more videos like this to come. As always, I wish you guys best of luck in GENSHIN and also have a great time exploring this beautiful world. I'll see you guys next time. Take care everyone.